Hello and welcome back to Geomancy for Contemporary Living with me, your host, Fay Semple. This week we're having a special week because this week I've got a very special guest. So joining me today is Rick. Rick is a student on my Genesis Geomancy course, and I wanted to bring him in because I wanted to talk to him about his experiences and how working with the earth energy has actually sort of played out for him, how it's affected his life, and all sorts of other things. So welcome, Rick. Thank you very much for joining me today.
No, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
It's well, I was going to say it is, but that sounds completely egomaniac. No, it's a joy to talk to you, and I think it's great for people to hear about other people's experiences because geomancy is it's a bit out there, isn't it? Not many people know what it's all about, but I just wanted to show people really that it's a very practical thing and that it has practical outcomes for our lives and the things we want to do. So before first of all, can you share a bit really about how you what's your journey been into Western geomancy and really how you came to join the program, what attracted you to it, what stirred this sort of curiosity into what are earth energies and what is all this sort of ancient stuff about?
At the time, it just felt like the right thing to do, and um, so I just sort of followed my intuition and guidance, uh, and it's really that simple. For me, it was just something saying you can learn something here, and it's important that you do. So
Sort of that inner voice, something.
yes,
I think that's a really good
yeah,
thing about intuition. I must make that point actually. That sometimes we just hear this voice. We can't see where it's going to lead us, and we don't know the why, but we have this strong pull, don't we, to follow it for
and
the adventure it's
yeah,
going to take us on.
and it's just trusting that inner voice and going, okay,
Yeah, let's
let's
see
go
where it
down that
goes.
road. Yeah,
So
okay,
that's going to be, it's been you're now in your third year actually, aren't you, in the program? So it's
yes,
been
yeah.
a really interesting journey watching you move because you've actually moved in the meantime, haven't you? And your
I've
second,
I've moved. I've traveled through Scotland for a couple months, just being drawn to stone circles there, and sometimes just solitary stones, like the Setter Stone out on E-Day, and that was an incredible journey, an incredible trip. So there's always I always feel like I'm a little behind in the classwork because in the meantime, I'm traveling through Scotland for 2 months, or I'm moving, or I'm building stone circles out in my yard. So,
yeah, which brings me around to my next question because your stone circles are quite something to behold. So what inspired you to build a stone circle and sort of how has that project deepened your understanding of geomancy and what earth energies are about?
um, it was right now I'm living on a mountaintop in North Carolina by a little town called Bryson City, and it's part of the Appalachians, which is, one of the all part of the a remnant of the oldest, one of the oldest mountain chains in the world, of the great Central Pangean mountain range,
Yeah.
when when the continents were all one massive continent. And so it's an ancient thing, and there's tons of quartz here everywhere. And I was walking up the hill behind the house one day and saw a little piece of a stone sticking out. And um, the next day, I channel a lot, and I do that in the morning sometimes just in writing. And I was told, you need to get that stone and bring it down to your yard. And it was just this little piece sticking out. And I wasn't even sure if it was quartz. And so I went up and I unearthed it. And it's this 800-pound boulder that was there. And I'm going, okay, this won't be easy. So it took me a couple weeks of planning and getting the gear to do it and moving it down. And I had a conversation with the stone initially, and he was very upset that I didn't have more high-tech gear to use. Since I've got him in place, he's settled down. He's much happier now. But I brought that down, and I just kept finding more stones and sort of receiving guidance and instructions on what I'm supposed to do with them, and like the depth of how far they should sit. And I was actually given a date to have it down in the yard and a date to when I should have it set in place. And so I did all of that, and it sort of, and I knew I was supposed to be writing too, and I just kept getting, you have to finish the stones first. You have to do that circle. And the minute I had that one in place, I looked up at the other end of the yard and just said, I need stones up there too. I'm supposed to have stuff up there too. So I found more stones, some 500-pound rocks from rivers that I pull out, and
It was an adventure, wasn't it? Because obviously the group were watching you and hearing all these exploits about trying to get these stones in place, and we did the dowsing. I
yeah,
know I did some dowsing, and you did the dowsing obviously on your plot as well to make sure they were all positioned, you know, over particular energy features, aren't they? Like water and energy lines, so they're actually located sort of where they need to be. And your intuition, you know, was really powerful and drew you to that. But you have ended up, obviously, haven't you, with 2 stone circles now on your property that you completed. And then that's, you know, that's when you were then able to write, wasn't it? That's when this book came
yeah.
forth from you. So do you want to
And
say?
after the energy sort of settled from that, the big stone, the first one I moved down, is part of the Zarathustra collective, and the other one at the other end, the feminine, is part of the Athena collective. So in my front yard, I have A to Z there, Athena to Zarathustra. Um, and once I did that, and once the energy settled, because it takes a while to figure out how it wants to, what to sort of confirm and consolidate the interaction between the stones and the energies, then I could start to write.
Yeah.
And I tried writing before that, and I was writing a story called "The Story That Didn't Want to Be Written" because I couldn't write. And in the end of it, they said, no, every story wants to be written. Your problem is you're not ready yet. Just calm down. So anyway, once that happened, then I just started to write. And that first story is almost done. I'm still going through some final editing and things on my own to.
Yep. So did the, you know, the process of your book then, it's sort of, as I say, it became more, it flowed more easily for you once the
Yes,
stone circles were in place in it, because it kind of, we could see it kind of activated something in you. So would it be fair to say that sort of the experiences of really sort of being in the program in Genesis, do you think that helped you with the creative, you know, the creative element of it? Did it influence, and I suppose really did geomancy then sort of influence your writing at all in how these things interplayed with each other?
it setting the stones sort of, and I could feel it when I did it. You just feel a stronger connection to the land after doing that and setting the stones yourself and connecting to it that way. It After that I could start to write, and it sort of connects me to an energy portal here that has said, she's introduced herself to me as the Wandering Woods. In fact, I was talking to her before I found this place. And it sort of strengthens my connection to that. And it's I don't know if it's the energies of the land specific. There's something about my connection to the land here that makes it easy to write.
Yeah. I
So
think it's a dual thing. I think you've set your intentions for what you want to achieve in the space. But then by setting up
yeah,
geomantic structure, as we say, it changes the earth energy, which actually changes our brain waves and our, neurochemistry. And it unlocks a part of us that we couldn't necessarily access before because we didn't have the setup that enables that stimulation of our inner creativity and that other side of our brain that enables us to connect to these elemental beings or other consciousnesses or whatever our belief system is, but that we can connect to something more
right.
than ourselves. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think I think what gets me about the geomancy is it's kind of an organic technology that uses stone, electromagnetic frequencies, light, sound, water, to sort of access quantum biological processes really that unlock other parts of our consciousness that we can't normally get at because of hustle and bustle and hurdy-gurdy of everyday life. So I
yeah.
think
Uh,
what's the
I've
most
set up
valuable?
it in my large stone circle, the masculine one. I've set up a some flat stones in the middle where I can just go in there and meditate within the circle of the stones now.
Mm,
I haven't done that yet. It's been rainy ever since I had to take it apart at the end of last year for
yeah.
some various reasons, and I just got it all assembled back together again. So I have
Yes.
made myself a meditation zone in the middle of the stones now, which
And that'll
I'm
be good,
looking
must say,
forward
because
to
you're in a different frequency then when you're in this stone circle. It has an energetic structure, and that's then what enables us to tap into something else. So it's gonna be
Yes.
exciting. I've got to look at your new stone circle yet and do some dowsing and illustrate all the energies for you so you can see what's going on. So that's going to be exciting. So what do you feel are some of the most valuable lessons you've learn from this process of engaging with earth energy, through the Genesis program? What's the big lesson that you think you've taken from it?
Big lesson is just the interrelationship between the human collective consciousness and the consciousness of the planet,
Mm,
and that um, we're both meant to be here at this time and both connected to each other. I've seen some channel come on, I won't give his name, but he's said, oh, in a certain amount of time, the consciousness of Gaia is going to leave the planet and it's up to us then. And every time I talk to her, she goes, that's a bunch of hogwash. The
yeah, I'm not
consciousness
sure.
of the
Yeah, I
planet,
can't. I
the
can't. If
consciousness,
if all things are conscious, how can a consciousness, apart from death, your consciousness? I mean, your consciousness will live on, but the physical structure will go. Yeah, I don't.
yeah,
That doesn't sit with me, I have to say. Yeah.
it never sat with me. And whenever I talk to her, Gaia, she goes, why would I do that? We're like, so you're part of me and I'm part of you. So the more we learn to work together, and you guys maybe eventually get your act together and stop misusing me,
Mm,
then we can become connected better in a stronger way.
yeah,
So
a better
it's
relationship.
that connection. Yeah,
Mm. We
yeah,
are in a reciprocal relationship, aren't we? We need the earth to nurture us, but we have an impact on the earth. And we're part of the earth. We're one of the earth's children, and she's part of the consciousness of the universe. So we're all parts of the consciousness of the universe, which is trying to learn more about itself. Through the life of
yeah.
an ant or our life or the life of a planet, we're contributing to that consciousness. So we are in a relationship, and the more we embrace that relationship, the more healthy everything becomes. A healthy planet equals healthy people equals a healthy planet, and that reciprocal
Yeah.
relationship, I'd say, has gone probably slightly out of balance with some of modernity, but it doesn't mean we can't get it back. I'm always full of optimism. So
Yeah, well,
um
and it's always like when I build the stones here, it's not just for me, but it connects me to the greater consciousness, and there's a reciprocation there in what she gets from me and what I get from her. So
Yeah.
it, and as long as you do something with dedication and good intent, that will be mirrored back to you.
Yes, absolutely. I have to say, I must pick up on
Yeah.
one of the words you used there as well, was dedication. Because I
Yes.
think the thing that this program, particularly in Genesis, teaches you, it's about practical action. And a lot of the spiritual world, I mean, intention is incredibly important. Intention is everything. But when we're working with the earth, I think there's a very different factor involved in when we create something like your stone circle, or other people have built chain cairns, or what we call like the equivalent of standing stones, power towers. I think that act of committing to creating something on your patch has a very different effect than just sitting in your armchair thinking about it. Would you say that's true?
Yeah,
That there's a practical, that
absolutely.
practical act changes everything.
Absolutely. I mean, the physical action, uh, the physical action is everything. Nothing happens without the physical action.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
meditation is great and meditating in the stones will be great, but if I hadn't taken the physical action of building the stone circles, obviously it wouldn't be there. So
Yeah.
you can receive the guidance and the intuition, but it doesn't manifest itself. It doesn't become something greater. And so you don't become something greater if you don't take action on that.
Yeah, it is. It's part of the manifestation program process, isn't it? We're creating an energetic system, if you like, where the things that we want come into 3D form rather than just thoughts in our head. They will come into our lives, which leads me on to my next question, really, which is how has your life changed since joining the Genesis program and practicing geomancy in the way that you do? How has it changed things for you?
Um, it's changed sort of everything. I mean, I was living in Florida at the time, and there was a reason for that. And uh, and yet I knew that wasn't where my time there had sort of run its course. Um, and it was really listening to intuition and the feelings of the land that brought me here. And and I have known for a while that I should be up here in the mountains someplace. It took me a while to find this place, but when I did, it just sort of all fell together almost instantly.
Mhm.
Um, and um, and it's just, I don't know how to quite explain it, but it's following your intuition and learning to work with the energies around you and the energies of the land, and being open to the possibilities of what can happen and letting
Uh,
that come forth.
And I think you raised a valid point then. I mean, in my work, I often talk about, we live where we live for a reason. That we don't live
Yeah,
anywhere by accident. We're drawn to places. It's like a set in a play of our life. And that set gives us the props and the backdrop and everything we need to play out that particular scene at that epoch. And if we don't live in the right place with the right energy structure to do that, we can't fulfill our role because we haven't got the backdrop. And I think places and we come together rather like, probably a very poor analogy, but the iceberg and the Titanic, we come together for something to happen. And I think, I remember
yeah,
when you found that home, it literally reached out and grabbed you that said, this is what they're here for. This is the person that needs to come into this space. I think that's a
yeah,
really a profound relationship that we don't always acknowledge, that we are where we are for a reason.
yeah. And when I found it, it was like I'd been looking sort of in this mountain range for a while, and and another somebody else I work with who I've had a mentorship with mentioned, go check out this area. And there wasn't anything in that town, but I just fell into this place almost instantly one morning. And it's been great. And the owner's great, and the property manager is great. And when I talked to the owner, I sent her pictures of the stones once I had it set up, and she goes, "That's amazing. I can feel that energy." And talking to her after that, she goes, "I know you're supposed to be there. You're supposed to be there right now." So, yeah.
That's that coming together. I think that perfectly illustrates it, was your experiences. So what advice would you give someone who was considering joining the Genesis program to learn all about geomancy?
I would say follow your own intuition. If you feel drawn to it, then do it. It's a personal decision. You have to decide. But for me, it was the right thing to do at the right time. And I've learned a lot and still have a lot more to learn, because I seem to always be behind in the classes, because like when I was writing the book, that's all I was doing. I would get up in the morning and write all day. And it's always, for me, it's a process of handwriting it. And then trying to get that into a typed form. And I learned to try and make that transition from handwritten to typed in a day, or I would just get so behind, and it would take me forever to catch up. So follow
It's a
your own
process.
It is a process, yeah. The book ended up being about 120,000 words. I'm still editing it and adding it. And along the way, people come in that are just the right person at the right time. One woman in another group said, "Would you like me to edit your book for you? Would you like me to read it? And I'll give you feedback." And I said, "Yeah, sure. Yes, that would be great." And after she did that, she goes, "I really like where it's going. This main character is really somebody I can identify with. I love what he's going through. And oh, by the way, I used to be an editor at a publishing house. And after that, I was a tenured English professor teaching creative writing and composition at the University of Oregon," which was amazing. And so she's been editing it with me, and helping me a lot, because I would write things as sort of short channelings, which were sort of inspirational, but putting together a whole story of plot and character and dialogue was far beyond anything I'd ever done before. And she
it's
could
great
say,
that, as you
"Oh,
say, the right person showed up at the right time,
yeah,
in the right place,
yeah,
for you
in the
to
right
achieve.
place."
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the input has just been amazing, because she'll go, "The characters here are kind of flat. You should look at that again." And I'd look at that again, and it would completely change. By the time I was done with that chapter, it wasn't anything like it was when it started. And then I would change the last half of it. Then I would go back and read the right half, the first part of it, and go, "This is just dead. This doesn't ring with me at all." And I'd talk to the main character and say, "You're talking too much. Do it without talking so much." And he and I would write it again, and I would still say, "You're still talking too much. This is not about you. You need to learn to step out for a minute." And he'd go, yeah, you're right. Okay. And we'd write it again, and then it would just be perfect.
Yeah.
So
It's a process you've learned, haven't you, as you got along, how you write. So yeah, and
yeah,
I would say, like, as all things are processed, like you said, you're sometimes behind with the modules of the program. It's like there isn't really a set, there's no set deadlines. It's, you can go around it again and again and again. And I say it's quite a dynamic program. It's an active membership, so I'm always learning things from students and feeding new information in, and we've got new things coming up very soon in it. So it's exciting. So What are your future plans for the field of geomancy? Like I say, you're going around the program again, there's more to learn. How do you feel you want to progress with geomancy, and and how does the Genesis program sort of fit into those plans? I mean, obviously, you feel you've got some catching up to do. It's not necessarily that you have, but you can go into more depth. Where do you see this sort of taking you, this journey into earth energy and connecting to other consciousnesses, or are you just along for the ride at the moment to see what happens?
I'm not exactly sure, but I do kept being told you need to get that device. You're going to be moving bigger rocks. You need to get that device. So, because so far it's been ropes and pulleys and come-alongs and handmade ramps to get stones into the car, and so
we will
so
see.
there's some devices
You might need a crane then to erect your 16-foot standing stone next.
Hopefully not. Hopefully there's other ways to do it. I know there are other ways to do it, and we'll see if this prompting I keep receiving to learn the technology to build this device actually comes true, or if I'm just making stuff up in my head. So far, I've usually not been just making stuff up in my head. So,
Yes.
So we'll see.
Our next step is to levitate stones into place, isn't it?
Yes, actually it is.
Yeah. Which is something we will be working on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been done before, and there are people who have done it before, and I'll leave it at that for now.
Yes.
So,
and here endeth the lesson. Yeah, and that's a good time to end, actually. So, yeah. So thank you very much, Rick, for joining me and talking about your experiences and how it's as I say, tapping into this earth energy has just opened up that flow of creativity and connection with you and changed everything. So I hope your experience inspires other people. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we say goodbye to our viewers?
just follow your own intuition. Just, ask for guidance. I found that most people who sign up and are in Genesis are already open to that, and so it's just a matter of letting your guides and the frequencies that want to talk to you, and then you decide. We all have our own free will. You decide if you're going to listen to them or not.
Yeah,
absolutely. I found my life is easier if I usually listen to them. So most of the time, that's what I do.
Yeah, and I think we can see that. I say, for those of you who've known, for a few years, how your life has changed quite a lot, actually, hasn't it, in the last few years? So it's been an interesting journey. So thank you again, Rick, for joining me. It has been a pleasure, and thank you for everybody for watching this. And of course, if you want to find out more about joining the Genesis program, so you might be erecting a standing stone or a stone circle or a chambered cairn or any other construction in your garden, reach out and let me know. So thank you again, Rick. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you next time.
Great. Thank you, Fay.